We're too outdated for the modern society.
And I think we should continue to always have a vision of, one of the pet projects that I really want to do is to write a novella, because to write a novel is too hard, just a short novel, but of the kind of vision of the future of, what society would look like to me as I can envision it now, even with things that are actually commonly available, like the laser, like, you can't believe, the amazing ability of biomodulation. I'm looking at being able to bring in this light bit, okay, where, it's really literally human beings are like plants, okay? So where Wing Chun is helping to deal with the airway, how you improve that oxygen intake, we actually need light too, okay, to get the cell energy currency going. All right. It's almost like, okay, in a very, very simplified manner. All right. Every cell has a nucleus. Every nucleus in there's this thing called mitochondria. All right. And in there are receptor sites that are currently being blocked, okay, by all your antioxidants that are, the bad stuff. All right. But once light energy comes in, it displaces this antioxidant and it allows our cells to be able to take in more of this oxygen. Okay. And this process of displacing it, I'm really oversimplifying everything. Okay. But this process of, replacing, okay, with the oxygen also generates this currency called ATP. All right. And that's the energy currency that gets your circulation, your cells all going. All right. So we are actually light creatures. We need sunlight. All right. But how many of us actually have the benefit, like in Singapore, where we get sun all day long? All right. So there is this light bit that I really want to bring in, because, you just lie in it for 15 minutes and you receive that light energy and it rejuvenates the cell, but it also helps with sports pain therapy. So yeah, I already have a home unit, that we are using it. Yeah, it helps so much. And so there are all these technology actually that has been around for like 30, 40 years, but because people, number one, don't know about it, or are resistant to change, okay, so that adaptation curve is so slow. All right. So for me, it's like, we have to prepare our kids, and our next generation to have that correct mindset. All right, to be able to let them survive in the future, and that mindset is one where you really have to be very open-minded. You have to be questioning all the time. Actually, these are all traits that all kids are born with, but sadly,
We just killed it.
we kill it as
Not
parents.
we. I don't think I killed it. I think it's the education that killed
We
it.
all have a part. Okay, I think as adults, as being the older ones in the planet, we all play our part.
Yeah.
In either not doing something about it, we have played a part.
Exactly. I was going to say that too. I was going to say that, although I blame the education system, but I was the one who concept. But then again, no, like, but Singapore, if you don't put your kids there, you are it's against the law, right? So, but that's besides the point. But the point is, I put them there. So
I have to train my child now, so we have to train our kids now to have, like, almost like to be able to compartmentalize, okay? So what you learn in school, you only apply in school, all right? But you need a whole different set of skills for life.
Oh, my primary 5, their conversation, they are already asking each other, do you think exams are important?
Wow.
My 4-year-old is starting to ask me why. I will tell her, like, girl, you're such a good girl today. Why? Why do you think I'm a good girl? Why? I'm like, oh,
that's good. Encourage it. Yeah. Although it's a pain to have to answer it, but
So everyone's asking
right.
Why?
She's right. Actually, sometimes at the workplace also, right? Like you just tell a colleague, right? Oh, good job. But what was it good about the job?
Why?
Actually, we have to be more specific. Then you have the repeated, good, performance. Otherwise, they don't know what it is that they were good for. And sometimes it's about also recognizing the whole process, right, and the struggle. I mean, there's so many things that I think as parents we need to explore, and we need to take responsibility. A lot of times I think a lot of people are just always waiting for others to take the lead, do the job, and then follow, when actually, the physics law of motion says that, okay, that until you always go in this constant same path until another, force comes and you go another path, and to me it's like, nobody, like, I cannot change you as a person. Only you can want to, change yourself. So likewise, since we cannot change people around us, then really we just have to start doing that first step ourselves, right? Implement that change ourselves, and then you see how everyone else cannot help but change too. because you have changed. So actually, we just have to always look back and take responsibility for ourselves and stop blaming, the rest of the world.
So, but unfortunately, we live in the Singapore society, which is very unforgiving if you step out of the system and then if you just fail or some shape, size, or form. But I'm teaching my child to, I think I'm caught in between where I want to be a modern parent, like everybody figures themselves out. We all figure ourselves out at some point. But then there's this system that we also have to follow. So I think maybe my children will not have that problem, but I do have this. I'm caught in between now because we are still part of the system, but you can't totally completely defy the system and be your own individual unless you completely leave the system. So where's this fine balance? And I think then now having this conversation, if parents are watching, you must then ask yourself what kind of parent are you to your kid, and then your kid is going to model after you, and that's what's going to happen. And the more you say no,
honestly, I have been watching the Singapore MOE system, right? And I believe that the ministers and the policymakers up there, they are seeing it and they want to implement it, but they are being held back by two parties. Okay, number one, the teachers who were not brought up in with this kind of a forward thinking, so that they are not there yet. But you can't just fire everyone and then recruit anew.
No,
all right?
I think you can actually give the teachers training, right? And truly, sadly, also, I don't think a lot of teachers are there for the passion. I don't know what they're there for, but I seriously doubt it, because from what I see, they really have lack of patience. Like when you have passion, you'll be so patient. Even when
I must say a word for the teachers. I mean, I've been there. I've taught for 5-6 years, and we all go in,
with a
passionate,
passion,
but we all leave, with some part of us having just gone dead. That's the truth, because so much is expected of a teacher that it's really unbelievable. I mean, we all want to be delivering a good lesson for our kids. We are all there for the kids. We all want to be able to sit down with them, but we realize that every child is different, and every child's family is different, and we recognize that the child's behavior is so linked to the family and their whole, who's shaping them outside of school. And we want to be able to deal with that, but we also have a lot of other responsibilities on the department level, on the school level, on the CCA level, and then not to mention marking. I was teaching English and literature. There was tons of marking, so I was carrying a bag, it's like it was like my bag of marking that, to me, it was like, oh, if it's a rainy day when we are out playing golf, then I could bring it out and do the marking, So that was the kind of pressure that a teacher has to face, right, in this modern, and so again, I appeal to parents, you have to understand, right, or start with from a place of empathy, and really, I mean, in my parents' time, right, it was like their parents would tell the teacher, oh, just please just discipline him, right? But now you have parents who are suing the school for
handphone.
for confiscating the handphone, which is against the school rules, because the boy used it in school. So you see what parents are creating also. So really, to me, of course, the mindset of the teachers, because I think the whole general movement is there, but I hope that as they are recruiting the newer batch of teachers, to really recruit those with that understanding. Second are the parents. Okay, the parents have to understand also, because actually, I think the ministry is really doing something. They abolish all those release of ranks of schools and all that, but kiasu parents still have a way of finding out,
I think it's also it works both ways. I was told that the reason why they're changing the syllabus is because the parents asking them, why are you teaching something my child already knows? But the parents are sending them for tuition like way before. Of course, the child's going to get bored. But my thinking is, if the child already knows, why should the child be going to school? The child is going to school to learn, not to revise. Then there is no purpose of the school. So this is a vicious cycle, I think, people need to...
And I realize that the ones who are not doing well in school are just because their learning pattern, their learning style doesn't coincide with the way lessons are delivered in the school. Some are just more experiential learners. Some are just, their genius lies in, more creative aspects. So they are born rebels, right? They will question everything, so they will not give you that answer that the teacher seeks during tests. And tests, tests already box them up. I'm so against, how the kind of science paper that my boy has to sit for. He wants to be a scientist. If you ask him, he loves science. Okay, but I'm saying how he's being prepared for the science exam for his PSLE this year. And to me, they have a fixed set of questions and a fixed set of answers. And if you deviate from the answer, you don't get the marks. And to me, that is so totally against the nature and the nature of a scientist, isn't it? A scientist is all about making
exploration,
trials and explorations, failing 100 times before you finally get it right. But so we are not. So to me, it's like, this is how it's all has to change. The way it's like, if we realize that that child is interested in science, and what tenacity, what personality traits are we training to prepare him to be a scientist? Because we really don't need to give him all those facts. Okay, with the internet, with accessibility to all these, what we need to be teaching him is how you discern facts from rubbish on the internet, because there's some that are really also untruths. Okay, so how do you discern between the real news and the fake news, right? How do you discern between a proper article and a one that is just fake? How do you but what he needs to know is that it is okay to fail, right? It's it's okay to try and try and try, and you have to just pick yourself up, because it is actually that the failure tells you a result too. Okay, that you don't have to worry that, oh, I have wasted that effort, because it's that mistake that taught you, oh, then you just ruled out something that is okay, it's not true, it doesn't apply to this, and then you work on until you find the truth. But how the school's not preparing them for all these. But I don't blame them. Okay, I just feel
there's just too many teachers. There's too many kids for just one or two teachers, so it's also a bit hard. That being said, but going back to what I said, I mean, I get it. The teachers are there for a reason, but I think yelling and scolding at the kids for small things, I cannot accept. I really cannot accept. Then it is a vicious cycle. Also, you yell at the kids become.
I'm also wondering whether these parents, these teachers, have got enough sleep. Really? I think the teachers need to go through meditation. They need to be checked for tongue ties.
Louisa, you have no idea.
Airway. I think they are also in sympathetic overdrive.
I think so.
And
then it becomes a power trip, because they get
it's a very prevalent thing. Like in America, you have to be very obese to have very restricted airway, and then have sleep apnea and all these sleep problems. But Asians, unfortunately, we are very small built, so our windpipe and everything is already very small. Okay, the space that we have here, and like through natural selection, everyone is picking a partner that has got very small faces, slim faces, and then we're just getting smaller and smaller around here. All right, so we are actually all not breathing well. So a lot of us are suffering from upper airway resistance syndrome. So when we are sleeping, we're not sleeping fully deeply, and it affects our daytime performance, and we're also high strung.
I think you should propose to MOE, because I really think the kids or the teachers should meditate to just calm down. Because when you get a trip, it's because you're not centered, right? You're just
actually, in the US there was this
I know there was
this article, like this school that sends them to meditation rather than punishment, and it's true, and they really, and there are some schools already exploring this, that breathing is really key, because Wing Chun will have the scientific explanation for this, okay, but it's all to do with activating the parasympathetic. And I think the other thing about us is that a lot of things, when we don't see, it's just like how Jesus' disciple needed to feel his puncture, the nail puncture, to say, oh, Jesus, you have resurrected. Like for us, a lot of things that we don't see,
we don't
believe. Okay, but Chinese TCM has been talking about meridians, right? Have you seen the meridian? No, but it exists. It's there. It's this electroceutical connection in our body, okay? And we believe that actually the tongue is also a very important, conductor of this. our saliva is not just for the enzymes, or it's also contains electrolytes, and so the tongue, if it doesn't go up to the roof of the mouth, you're not completing a certain circuit in the body, and you're bypassing a lot of things, and you're creating a lot of issues. We're not making that connection, and we need to have that connection. So to me, breathing, the proper correct technique for breathing, I mean, as fundamental as it sounds, okay, is important. What is happening right now is that we have got so many inventions that have helped us seemingly to solve a lot of issues, but at the same time we have actually created a set of other problems, okay, and really we have to go back to basics. The abnormal has now become the norm. All right, so we are seeing a lot of unhealthy people. So there is so few specimens of really optimized, healthy human beings around.
But don't you think that also goes back to the expectation? If people have lesser expectation of themselves to so-called succeed, then there will be less fear, more time to develop themselves, and then like, yes, the tongue tied or whatever that, but then going back to the breathing, then they will have more time to breathe, because when you have shallow breathing means you're so busy, right, that you actually have forgotten to breathe, or you're so occupied. So it goes back to, don't you think it's just managing expectation of it's okay to fail, it's okay to figure yourself out, it's just okay to be creative, it's okay to be yourself. So going back to the teachers, if they don't have the certain KPI or the expectation of the kids, then I am very sure they will not be screaming at my child for like every single thing. You have no idea, Louisa, like every time my child comes back, oh, this student got scolded, oh, I got scolded, this got scolded for what? Like because there are two Sarahs in the class, so obviously, like, never acknowledge also
Sounds
gets scolded.
Okay, sounds like this teacher needs help.
And then my daughter, when she was in primary 3, the teacher would smack the kid, and I'm like, so to me, it's
in some countries, right, they and rightfully so, actually, they are saying, why are like the highest paid top people teaching in the universities, by the time the kids reach university, actually a lot of habits are formed already, and you need to, in fact, unlearn a lot of things, right? Actually, your top and your very best brains should be deployed at the early childhood period, okay?
And
because
going back to the labels that we said early on, the teacher will say, why are you so idiot, why are you an idiot, why are you so as a child, you look up to the teacher, right?
That's quite damaging. So if the child, teacher talks this way.
So going back to what you say about the child should be at, the brain should be like, you should pay more attention to the child at the beginning, but the child is already so scared, like the brain will shut down.
One of my favorite books is I used to send my boys to the Shichida method, right brain education, but if you really read Professor Shichida's book, right, on something like nurturing with love, right, his whole point is that all the child needs, right, to grow up healthy and smart and well, right, is love. Yeah. And so of course, I think I mean, when people are so negative and all that, to me, it's that there is something else in their life that they are having to deal with, but unfortunately they are blurring that line
to the kids, because the kids got no defense system.
Yes, and I think we really do need to address this, where we have to recognize every child is born a genius, okay?
I totally agree.
Every child has his or her own talents. It's just that because they didn't fit into that mold that the schools have identified as,
smart or
correct, because to me, if you thrive in school, you're literally just book smart. You probably have very good memory, and you're very obedient, and you just you just do what the teacher says. You pay attention, and you remember, and then you regurgitate what the teacher told you. You will do well in school. But I'm seeing some kids, it's not that they are not smart, it's just that they just
lack of memory skills.
Yeah, that's one. Again, sleep, I would want to look into that. Are you getting the quality sleep? Because that affects your daytime memory, your daytime performance. But also, there are some who are just, I think the truly creative geniuses, they are born just to ask questions, just to be the opposite. These people like that in your life, like they are so creative, but they're also always just doing the opposite of what people do. And how can you imagine if a child is born like that? How is he going to thrive in school where the teacher expects a certain answer? You're going to get zero every time, because he would want to question why the question is like that, and then he would want to try a different answer that would kind of show off his personality, but he's going to get it wrong all the time because the teacher only wants their answer. So it's like our education system currently doesn't have room for recognizing the different types of geniuses. But there are a lot of enrichment, and there are a lot of people actually talking about it. Now it's just about how do we really suss through all that, right? And how do we make it mainstream, right? I mean, to me, it's about educating the parents, and the parents have to make that first step, on making that choice for your child. But first we have to be educated, but there's so much information out there,
right.
So what
I think ultimately is the system needs to be more forgiving. I don't think as parents we want to hound our kids every single day, because I mean, seriously, I don't really care if she passes or fails, but the problem is if she fails, then she's lagged, she cannot catch up.
And then, you see, it leads back to that whole point again, you see. But to me, it's that because the moment we attribute it to something external of ourselves, then we are also passing the responsibility, and we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And for me, you want be the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you unless you want to roll, and really nothing is going to change unless you roll up your sleeves and start looking at that area that you want change in.
Yeah. So I'm telling my child now, it's okay to fail. It's okay. Just fail. Fail now. Know how it feels and know how it feels. And then, it's okay. Like, the teacher called me the other day and it's like, I think your child will be in a normal stream. I say, then what's the point of putting her in an express stream when she will be struggling in express stream just for the label? And then the teacher went, yeah, that's true. But then also my daughter has to come from within that she wants to pass. So for me, I told her, do you have a desire to pass? If you do, then you're going to do something about it, because the time will come. So parents need to educate and give the responsibility back to the child.
I think what the child doesn't see is the future, like what it will turn out to be if they do this or if they choose that. So it's just your responsibility to, from your experience, right, paint the scenario for them that this is this, this is this, this is this. But as long as you're trying your best already, then there really is.
But the problem is most kids are not doing their best because it's all very boring. That's the thing. But then, unfortunately, what you say, you are being graded by your intelligence based on how much you can regurgitate out.
Yeah.
Exactly. My children are not dumb. My 7-year-old can question me, why do I have to go to school? Why do I have to learn this? I have no answer for her. They're asking me questions that I never would dream of asking my parent, because or your teacher, But they're asking questions which is true. To her, like, why do I have to learn this nonsense thing? Like, it does not make any sense to her.
So she's bored, actually? She's bored?
Yes, she's bored. Bored, that's the word. So, and to me, I really think there is no need to learn, but then it's just part of the curriculum. So, but now I'm asking myself, but there is advantage to learn all these things. So I tell her, you just need to learn and just need to know whether you pass or fail. To me, it's irrelevant. We'll just figure things out at the end of the day.
The way I see schools, sometimes it's not really for the content of what they're teaching, but more like, it's like a microcosm of a society, that they start to learn how to interact with people. And then to me, like kindergarten, sending my boy there was really for the social skills to develop, rather than for the academic content that they are.
Some kindergarten, oh my God, they're learning their things here, Chinese spelling. They have to write in full sentences. They have to memorize. I'm like, oh my God, thank God my kindergarten, my child's kindergarten doesn't do that, because you are really robbing the joy of the child.
But really, my question for parents like you, right, is like, what is your ideal of an education system then?
My ideal of an education system, it wouldn't even be called a system, because every child is different, every child is unique, right? But then we don't have enough manpower to sustain this, therefore everybody's fit in the box.
Mm-hmm.
But if unfortunately, because we cannot fit in the box, then we should not have criteria or pass or fail. At the beginning of school, there shouldn't be a pass or fail. You should not grade a child at such young age, because it spoils their confidence, because you're already labeling them. You are already labeling them. So I think it's to have the trust that the child will learn through fun, through this, without passing or failing, without taking exams. Then school is fun.
It means that the ideal school, should just help them explore themselves, inspire them.
The ideal school for me is to teach them life skills. Because most of us, our generation, are struggling because we didn't have that kickstart, and we have to figure out in our 30s and then in the 40s.
That's what I'm realizing also. It's like, all these coaches are thriving now because, we have so many people who really need unlearning, of a lot of things that, they are not brought up with. And to me, it's like, what can we do right now to implement it
exactly
at the children's level, And then my question for you is, is this an area that you're passionate enough to want to go into, to develop at now this point, life skills training for
I did think about
kids.
it. I want to have like for you want to have a plot of land with that thing, right? I want to have a plot of land where children and kids and their parents come together and just spend time together, and then they go learn life skills, meditation, money skills, like entrepreneurship or whatever, like just developing their interest without the fear of, I need to pass this or I need to fail this. To just discover who they are, because like you say, we all know
the thing
who
is
we
that
are.
I believe there are already pockets of people who are doing that.
Yeah.
They just need someone strong like you to kind of gather everyone together and build that tribe and say,
I
hey,
need that strength myself too, first of all, because the society, I'm telling you, has conditioned me well to stay in the lane. It's like when the red light is red light, I don't move. I don't even walk. I don't even jaywalk. Why? Because I don't want to get caught. That's how the society we're living in now, right? Why does she get caught and pay the fine? But if you want to, I break rules in other areas of my life. I don't break the law. I break the rules, right? But with the education system, it's because we are here, unless I have to leave. It's very hard to break out the education system here, because no matter what you do outside, most of the time your kids are still spending time in the school. So with that, the entire system has to change. Then we will have happy teachers. Because what I've heard is the teachers need to keep up with their KPI as well. Like they have to have a certain passing. That causes stress on the teachers, of course. When you're causing stress, you don't sleep well, then you become a different kind of teacher that you don't even want to be. I don't think any teacher want to whack the child up, but sometimes just, it goes back. It's a vicious cycle, isn't it? Then how can we contribute to the totality of the society as an economical growth? Because now I'm questioning, are we just here for a number because we are a decreasing number, or are we actually an individual that we want to contribute back to society? But if we're so caught in so much fear, then we don't want to contribute to society because, hey, who am I? I need to figure out myself first before I can think of someone else. That's why, a lot of us are very selfish people, not because we want to have our cups full first, but no, I think we are selfish because, hey, you know what? I don't even have, how can I give? I can't give what I don't have. But it goes back to knowing who you truly are, right? Confident as a person. But if you drop that from the child, then now 20, 30s, you got to kind of rewire yourself. That 20, 30 years, it's time wasted. When we can actually give that to the child right at the beginning. My children are very confident. They can hold a conversation anytime with anybody.
Beautiful. Yeah.
They can ask why, and they can hold
I think it's because they have a good role model in you, So I think as parents, the first and foremost is to be that role model, right? And you are a confident woman, so they have a good role model to follow.
Hopefully, I don't know. But then going back to the question, I really think we need to do something about the fundamentals of the education, how we are teaching our children, because what's the point of finding
this friend of Cheryl Liu Ching. She's the author of the 24-Hour Women. So now she's also been roped into a TEDx committee, and they are actually beginning I think they're planning for a TEDx parenting platform in November. Yeah, I think it, we definitely all can do something. For me, it's in the area of educating people on what I think they don't yet know enough of. When it comes to the health aspect, and also then when it comes to the education aspect. But for me, it's really about taking responsibility, and taking charge. Or rather, because we can always, of course, feel helpless that the system is such. But my belief is that if everyone we just take responsibility for our own kids. I mean, we don't have that many. So just taking responsibility for their education. But having a good central place for resource, or conversation on how we can start that. That's why I started like a Facebook group called Inspiring Kids, Congruent Parenting. Right. And to me, inspiring kids, if you notice, inspiring has got a dual meaning. Okay, it's for us as adults who are the more experienced ones to inspire the kids, but then you realize actually the kids are the ones who are very inspiring. Yeah, they inspire us all the time because they are most close to the truest nature of what human beings are. We all then grow up, because of our experiences and our bad, whatever. We are the ones who kind of get, as adults, we sometimes do need to look back at them to see what was the original model supposed to be like, and to learn from them, that true nature of what it means to be human being. Like you say, like what your daughter is doing, never kill that, that ability to ask why. We have stopped asking why, a lot of us, and it's because we don't ask why, we allow systems to still be very much the same as it has been for the past hundreds of years. Because not enough people are asking why. But if enough people ask why and do something about it, then the change will happen. Then the change will occur. Because then you will say, are we going to know this and still let it be? Or are we going to say no to it? And so to me, any kind of change has to start from the self. And but what do we want to change into? We should change into the child that we originally were. And we should look at our kids. They are the inspiring models. That we should sometimes. So what you love about your daughters right now is what is what we should preserve.
I mean, all babies are born pure. It's only when connected, or when influenced or contaminated by our own egos and our own fears, that's when they become us. Then the whole society doesn't grow, because it's just
and also I'm actually sometimes shocked at how negative a lot of parents are. Sometimes when we hear them speak to the child, I mean, I'm also not a proponent of a lot of praise for the child, because that's not healthy too, unless you're very constructive about your praise. Again, it's not just a good job, but which part of it is good, which part of it is good, mommy, right? But a lot of negativity also is not good.
Healthy, basically healthy, right?
And honestly, for me, I think for me, just to share personally, I had a confidence issue, and my confidence issue arose from the fact that I don't blame my mom. I mean, that in her thinking, she was very she was utilizing this strategy called reverse psychology, right? Which a lot of parents in her generation use, right? So if I were to put down my daughter, I think that would kind of get her more motivated to want to be better, and that's how she thought she was motivating me, but without realizing that it was causing a confidence issue. So I had to spend 40 years getting over that. And now probably in certain areas it still kind of nudges, it still affects me. I had a session with Paulina, where she did I can't remember the exact word for it, but I remember that going through that session with her, I felt like an empowerment, of like I felt like that character, Maleficent, where she had her wings clipped, but going through that session with her, she kind of like had the vision that she was putting the wings back on me. So that was the kind of damage that happened in my childhood. And I think each and every one of us have our stories of certain different kinds of damages done, by our parents out of love, in fact, that we don't even realize.
Depends. Out of love, but / fear.
Yeah. So right now, to me, it's that I think we are doing this. We are having this conversation because we want more people, to also, get together and hear what we have to say, and hopefully say their piece also, and then we have to look for a way, of how are we, what is, I think first of all is that we have to paint a very clear vision of what it is that we want the world to be. And honestly, that highest paying job in the future has not yet been invented. Okay, nobody knows what it is. All right, 10 years ago you would never have imagined that the YouTubers are the millionaires of today, and now my son aspires to be a YouTuber because it's like, how nice, you make millions and you're playing games every day, although we keep telling him that what's the quality of life, you're stuck in front of your computer every day and then you have to produce something, after a while it'll stop being fun, but that is their role model of today, right? And really the job of the future, we don't know, but you're right, we should have a school, for the life skills,
Exactly. So if we in during our time, we have never thought so. If we knew we have done better, we would like go and do our editing and all that kind of skills. So I mean, if you knew better, you have done better. Same thing with our kids. How can
but I believe there are some core skills that will help them, survive in the future.
For sure.
And definitely the schools are not teaching them. Okay, but then do we then say then they don't need to learn it? No, right? So now it's about how we as parents take back that responsibility. If you want to put the child in this world, then we have the responsibility of providing them with those skills. And we need to start seeking those answers right now. So we need to ask that question, what are the skills that they need for the future? So for one thing is not to have the fear of failure. Okay, so as parents right now, we have to start by acknowledging them for their failure also. So are we, you see, because every time they do something well, we praise them, but do we praise them every time they fail or make a mistake?
I was gonna say it goes back to the parents, right? The kids will always look at how the parents respond and then they adjust accordingly. So if the parents have a big emotion about failure, then they are not going to want to fail, and some kids will forge their parents' signature, which then leads to another bad habit of lying because you don't have this relationship with your parent. So the kid will always, people may not know, but the kid is always adjusting based on you.
Yeah. So we always have to constantly have this mind of like, what do I want my child to be like as they grow up, right? And what are some of the values? What are some of the, so I'm reading this amazing book called Elite Minds. It's developed by this coach, sports coach, but you realize that it can be applied to anyone who wants to look for high performance, But he was talking about belief systems. He was talking about behavior, and in between there was something else. But what I realized is that, for me, beliefs are shaped by our values. Okay, so we need to be very clear what are the values that we want for our kids, and really cement that. Okay, the language shapes thought. Yeah, thought was the other thing that he was talking about. But to me, the language that we are using, on our kids, always listen. From really, one thing I learned is that, as a parent, we are so keen, or we are so afraid, right, that we can't pass on all our lives experiences, so we keep talking to our kids, but are we listening to them? And actually, when you really listen carefully to them, you get a lot of knowledge from them. You're gonna understand their world and their thinking.
Because I think this goes back to the hierarchy, like, just because you're a parent doesn't mean that you have the control, doesn't mean that you know everything. So when you step back and release that that identity of a parent needs to know it all, then you can actually see your child as who he or she is.
But even as a coach, you can apply a lot of these. I mean, I took a coaching course, and then I realized that, what I learned was the big word listen. That the best coach, just listen, just sit there and listen, and you would be amazed by what you hear. And the first person that I thought of applying it to was my boy. It's like I realized that as a parent, sometimes we fail to listen really. But when you listen carefully, then you can hear what they're really thinking. And then that is when then you can, reinforce if they're thinking along the correct path, but ask them the correct questions to set them thinking on another alternative path if you realize that their line of thinking is a bit off. So to me, the language that we're using, the questions that we are asking, and lastly, really, it's about the behavior, right? And to me, that's how a culture is set. We can sit there and do nothing and lament that this is the culture, or we can actually do something and we will shift that culture. We have the ability to shift that culture just by shifting ourselves.
Yeah, I totally agree. So going back to what I said, people need to, the life purpose is to save the world, save the whales. No, if you shift, it goes back to the collective consciousness. And when that happens, people around you starts to shift, and then that ripple effect starts to happen.
Beautiful.
So forget about changing the world and just shift yourself. When you change, then people around you, and then there's this.
You're very, very, very right. I totally agree with that. It's like that butterfly flapping the wings can actually create that whole, tornado effect somewhere else in the world. Okay. We don't have to go about changing the world. You just have to change yourself. And you keep talking about it, and you will change the world by that, just by changing ourselves.
Yeah, totally. So thank you so much for this hour and 30 minutes talk.
Really, really happy to be given the opportunity. I mean, great seeing you again, even though it's over Skype, it feels real. I'm amazed by technology nowadays and what it allows us to do. And I think we really should leverage on it, not to be a slave to it, but it has, it's got so much leveraging power, and we should really tap into it, but to yet be very rooted back in nature, and what is basic. And I think we have the answer for how to survive in the future.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like you said, the best paying job hasn't been, who knew Facebook and social media would be so hip and happening, right? Now we're studying social media as one of the core subjects, but you never know. You really never know. So why have so much pressure on ourselves? Just go with the flow. And there's no magic pill. The magic pill I really discovered is just go with the flow and be happy.
And always learn, always have an open mind, keep learning, because we really don't know enough, of the body, of the system, of how things work. We still don't know enough, really, and we have to keep searching for the answer.
Yeah, totally. I mean, if I didn't learn what I've learned, then I wouldn't question the society. I wouldn't question the system. I would just go with the flow. So you ask better questions, you get better answer. A question must always come with an answer. Whether or not you are ready to hear the answer, that's a different story.
And with the internet, and actually you'll be amazed, with the internet, actually, knowledge is just there at our fingertips. But if we are not discovering the answers, right, it's because we're not asking the right questions. So now the first thing we have to learn is to ask the right questions. And why is always a good question to begin with.
Like why you're doing what you do, why you think the way you think, why you dress the way you dress, why is your hair the When you ask why, you open a can of worms. But then
it's the hardest question to answer, but it's very important.
It's true. It's so true. So now everybody from my 11-year-old to my 10-year-old, now they're following the 4-year-old sister. Why? Why? Like even I find myself, why?
To try and look for their own answers, and then guide them on where they can find the answers also.
Yeah, sometimes you just go find it on Google, just figure it out. If they can, if it's Googleable, then go Google it.
Resourcefulness is a skill, okay? It's a life skill, To me, a lot of people are like waiting for the answer to be given to them on a silver spoon, but no, be resourceful, ask, you will get the answer.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thank you so much, Louisa. Thank you for your time. So where can people find you?
Where can people find me? I'm very active on Facebook. So if you look up Louisa Lee, or I think my Facebook, because Louisa Lee was so common, it was already taken up. So if you go to facebook.com/Louisa Yu, Y-U-E, LOUISAYUE, you can find me. And I've set up really some Facebook groups where I'm really trying to build up community, like the congruence movement, the congruent entrepreneur. Yeah, but of course I'm always building DP Dental at Kovan Heartland Mall. We're gonna come up with a new practice in Orchard to deal with everything about the tongue and its influence on the airway. We are really now looking at how we can actually put this whole thing together, because I'm passionate about education. Wing Chu's passionate about healthcare, but how are we going to be able to move this revolution? The way I see it is that I may have started with a dental practice, but what my companies will evolve into in the future might look very different, and it doesn't matter. I know I will change with times. I know I will move with the times, and I'm not afraid that the way my business looks today will evolve with the times. We have
it should
to
evolve.
Yes.
It should.
Yeah. So to me, there is no there is really, if you talk to me in 10 years time, I would have told you that our business is such and such and such, and it's very different. My idea of what the dental practice is going to look like in future is this. Okay, you're going to be coming in, all right, probably like as often as for your hair appointments, maybe once a month, all right, to do your professional cleaning. And then we have got the light bit there for cell rejuvenation, and that's it. You're just going to come in for your check to show that to know that there's no further issues, because we have been so good in prevention already. And I know that we will continue to question how things are being done now, and we want to implement things that is future oriented, and we will evolve from there.
Yeah,
So
I think we should evolve. There's this company, right, Fujifilm. They used to do film, and then now they're doing beauty skincare with the same technology. I mean, if you don't evolve, you die. You just go out of business. So like you said, the future high paying job hasn't been created. So if you don't start to evolve, then you'll be obsolete.
yeah.
So do not be afraid of change.
For us, our business is always about looking for the root cause of things and solving things at the root cause. So how I see our business will evolve is that as long as it's about solving things at the root cause, we are there. So that's why the tongue focus clinic, and the education, the wanting to.
So don't think you're overseas, you can't come. Yes, you can still fly in and book an appointment and do your tongue tied treatment in Singapore, in Orchard Road.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So awesome. Thank you. So I think maybe you should start buying a domain name so that we can find you easily on your website. Do you have a website?
Oh, yeah. Well, I started one like progressivepractice.asia, but we are really right now in that area where we are looking for what is a good name for our group. We thought of calling the practice in Orchard Linguodontics Clinic, and then now we're working with a branding team, and they are suggesting Clinic Myo, which is Myo meaning muscles, and because we're looking at all that, we're looking at a name for the group. So yeah, we're still evolving. And I did look up louisalee.com. It was already spotted by somebody who wanted 50,000 USD, which was like, okay, that's I have to think of something else.
Louisa.
Okay, yeah, maybe that should be something that I should look into. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
But find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, find me on I'm not so much active on Twitter, but I think social media is the connector. We reach out to people all over the world, so happy to be there for everyone.
Look up Louisa, friend her or something, send her a message if you have any questions on tongue tied, like literally tongue tied. And I'm sure she's happy to talk to you. All right, so take care, ladies. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you, Lisa.